All right, we are back for Roundtable Rams, episode number 18. I am once again joined by Billy, Melissa, and Buddy, and we're going to talk all about the Rams draft. I know we're a little late behind the curve, but things happen. We get busy, life happens, but here we are. I'm going to quickly go over the very limited draft picks that the Rams engaged in, which is only 5 players.
Mm.
Yeah.
And obviously, their first round pick is the one that we talked about, me and Billy, first round reaction, but we're going to dive a little bit more into that. What's happened since then, which has been a whole lot of conversations about everything. But here we go. So, round one, obviously, pick number 13 overall, we had Alabama quarterback Ty Simpson. Round two, pick number 61, we had Ohio State tight end Max Clare. Round three, pick number 93, we had Missouri offensive tackle Keegan Trost. Round six, pick number 197, we had Miami wide receiver CJ Daniels, and finally in round seven, pick 232, Alabama defensive tackle Tim Keenan III. So, yeah, there's been a whole lot of Ty Simpson talk, which we're gonna definitely get into, mostly because I mean, like when you look at these draft picks, there's not really a whole lot you can kind of like, I guess, hang your hat on, really get into, really talk about all the way through. I mean, the biggest thing, so obviously we know the Rams love their 13 personnel, which is why they went and got Max Clare. Max Clare is supposed to be a pretty solid tight end. I guess so. We're gonna see. My confusion with Max Clare is you already have that really strong tight end room with Terrence Ferguson, Tyler Higbee, Colby Parkinson, and I forgot the fourth. Who's the fourth one? They already had
Davis Allen.
Davis Allen. There you go.
Yes.
So you already have a really packed tight end room, and then you bring in Max Clare. Obviously, I'll just say my biggest umbrage, besides Ty Simpson at number 13, is just the fact that they waited until the 6th round to go and get a wide receiver. And more importantly, they gave up 2 7th-round picks to trade up to get CJ Daniels in that 6th round. Obviously, they really believed in him. Obviously, they think that they can. He's a raw talent that they believe that can coach up, and that's totally fine. And I get that, but at the same time, like it may have been better to kind of keep those 7th-round picks and just get a few developmental guys because you still already have a wide receiver room that's decent enough in the sense of, yeah, you have Devontae Adams, yes, you have Puka Nacua, but you still have Xavier Smith and Kanata Mumfield, both of whom haven't really like emerged yet, and that could be another reason why the Rams have not made a move or didn't really prioritize getting a pass catcher early on in the draft there. And that's not to say that C.J. Daniels or any 6th, 7th, or any 5th, whatever pick can't be good. Puka Nacua was a 5th-round pick, and look what happened. So it's just, I don't know. I mean, that's my biggest issue with their draft picks is they went tight end as opposed to wide receiver, which when you kind of think about it, sure, I guess that's okay, but yeah.
I think my biggest thing is the AJ Brown conversation's still going.
Yeah.
Well, apparently that's not happening anymore. Apparently,
I mean, apparently they weren't drafting Ty Simpson.
very true. But according to Nate Atkins, sources have said that they're completely out, and they had demonstrated it as much. And on top of that, Les Snead had said that they're like pretty much out of that conversation. I think probably because that would have had to involve Devontae Adams, and while a player for player swap isn't necessarily a bad thing, especially Devontae Adams for AJ Brown, I just think right now they're kind of rolling with who they got, and I don't think that they would give up Adams to go and pick up AJ Brown or whatever, an additional what they're asking. So I don't know. I don't see it happening, but I could be wrong.
Yeah. I don't know, where do I start? Max Clare, sure. Yeah, there's a lot that's happened that need to catch up on. I know you guys did an excellent job the last time you two were on. I'll touch on the Max Clare part first, since that's where James started off. Yeah, a very confusing pick. I personally thought they were just going to go wide receiver just because obviously they need that, right? Which is part of what I'm going to get into when we talk about Ty Simpson. But yeah, I mean, they clearly see something in Max Clare, just like they clearly see something in their other 4 picks, right? I did see that the year that the Rams went to the Super Bowl, that 2021 NFL class, only I think one of them, they had like 8 picks or something like that. Only one of them really contributed it like in a meaningful way. Tutu Atwell was their first pick. We know how that panned out. They had Bobby Brown. I think he was the player who really kind of did. Oh no, sorry, it was Ernest Jones.
Ernest Jones,
Ernest Jones. He was like their 3rd pick in that draft. So he's the one that really kind of stood out there. And Bobby Brown did a couple things, right? So yeah, like people are upset. People are talking about the Rams draft picks and like what are they doing, whatnot. But I mean, at the end of the day. Like I said before, Les Snead and Sean McVay knew what they were doing. I kind of lost that confidence a little bit seeing that draft Thursday night after the first round, right? They were all like, things just looked weird. Things looked odd, right? So that was really like, okay, like were they not on the same page? Since then, they've done a lot of damage control. They've seemed to have not made amends, but I mean. Kind of like, picked up the pieces in a way. It was just really, really odd. Sean McVay's been like really happy since then. He said that he wasn't happy because of other things.
Sure.
Sure, right? We don't know. We know. He said, oh yeah, it was something else. Didn't really look like it. But yeah, the Max Clare, we'll see how he fits. Like you said, James, they were really heavy 13 personnel. It kind of seems like they're going to run like 14, 15 personnel. If that's possible, right? So, like, I don't know. They clearly had a plan, and they're doing it. We just don't know what it is yet, and it looks really confusing.
I mean, you got to look at it, too, in the sense that, like, Tyler Higbee was almost close to retiring, so they're kind of, obviously, Max Clare's going to come in and be that, tight end 3 or wherever he fits in. And again, we brought this up on our other pods and we'll bring it up again. We're not really going to see really the fruits of the labor of these draft picks for another 2 to 3 seasons minimum, unless of course they're just those outliers that just ball out in their first season, which that is can happen. It always happens, but we're just saying that right now we don't really know the reasoning for all the backlash or the reasoning for the questions regarding the Rams roster or the Rams draft picks rather. It's just because it just seemed like not enough effort for their current kind of win now strategy, or rather their win now window of keeping Matthew Stafford in the building and trying to win a Super Bowl. Obviously we can talk all day about that and whatever, but interestingly enough, so they went and got Keegan Trost with the what is it, the 5th round pick I said, or 6th? 3rd round pick, sorry. So I'll just jump into this guy real quick. He was the number 1 rated tackle on PFF in 2025. 92.4 overall grade. 11th in pass block grade and 1st in run block grade. Pretty good. Pretty good.
I mean, it's going to be good for them. That's what they were missing out on, really. And I think that the whole issue with the Rams draft, and it's kind of what we've been saying over the weeks that have passed us by, is that they're so good on every corner that, like, I think that this draft may look odd to some and it may look lazy, but I think that all of their choices from here on out are future proofing for all of these older players who are carrying the room and being the veteran presence in the room. It seems more like they're doing that. And so I can see, I'm on both sides of the thing of like, it looks lazy and it looks like they're resting on their laurels and it looks like all these things, but then also they do something like that, like picking up Keegan Trost, that seems like, this is something that the guy that they're going to use right now. And they got him at a great pick, at number 97. Or 93, sorry. So yeah, I don't know. I'm still wrapping my head around this thing of, I can argue both sides of what was going on there on Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
I'll say I don't see it as lazy. I don't see it as anything like that. What I see it as is it's too little. And in the sense that absolutely. Like they could have easily traded back and still got Ty Simpson while picking up additional draft compensation, and they didn't do that. Now this was their like we have to go and pick him up, and fine, you totally have that right to do so. That's who you wanted, whatever. And you had the Arizona Cardinals there chomping at the bit to get a quarterback too, and who knows what they would have done had the Rams passed and they're at the start of the 2nd round, or they could have traded up into the 1st and got Ty Simpson, and then their whole draft plan would have been screwed. for the most part. But it's just, I feel they didn't do enough in they didn't maximize their win now or their future, in my opinion. Because yes, you got Max Clare, you got Keegan Trost, you have Ty Simpson, but the rest of the picks, like again, trading up to get CJ Daniels, it just didn't make sense to me when you could have gotten a trio of developmental wide receivers in that 7th round and just there you go. And then it would have looked like you did more. It would have looked like you brought something in to work with because you're trying to plan for the future. Whereas now you're running into a situation where Matthew Stafford may or may not be back after 2026. You're running into a situation where you have to extend Kobe Turner, you have to extend Puka Nacua, you have to extend all these other players, and then it's very eerily similar to 2022. It just reminds me of 2022. They won the Super Bowl and they went, "Wah." And so you're trying to prepare for the future, and they believe Ty Simpson is that guy apparently, and that's fine. But I don't know. I just felt like they could have done more, and their picks were not reminiscent of them preparing for the future, nor trying to capitalize on win now, right now. That's how I feel.
No,
Okay.
I agree with you entirely.
No, that's completely fair. I completely see that too. I guess there was a kind of thought where like, all right, they're gonna select a player who could help them immediately, right? Impact them, help bolster the offense, help protect Matthew Stafford. They got that in Trost, right? But offensive line is such a premier position. It's like, I mean, guys like in the 1st round, maybe 2nd round, those are the guys who really have like. I mean, obviously, we know we've seen stories, throughout the years, and like, but like, it could Trost be that guy? Sure. Could he not? Yeah, that's also a possibility too, right? That's any of these guys in the draft, right? Even Fernando Mendoza's #1 overall pick, right? You just don't know. You do your best, you do your scouting going in and trying to find these guys who could yes help you now, but ultimately help you in the future, right? These guys are what 20 to 22 years old for the most part, especially the top picks. I mean, you just don't know. With Trails, obviously they needed to bolster the offensive line, like I think 3 or 4 of the Rams offensive line next offseason, they're gonna be free agents.
Yeah.
And there's a possibility you could bring them back. There's also a possibility that you could lose them too. So I mean, they got to prepare for that. And I know that was also part of the reason why they chose Ty Simpson, right? Because you just don't know about Stafford. That's on that sense, that makes sense. What really just kind of boggles my mind is that if he was as good as the Rams believe he will be, like consensusly, right? And I know it's just a board and, people get stuff wrong. Why didn't the New York Jets select him at #2? Why didn't the Arizona Cardinals select him at #3? Right? So like that's really like, that's what really just like boggles my mind. Like if I don't know, the Rams clearly see something in Ty Simpson, right? To take him at #13 overall, like this guy who wasn't even that highly touted, someone who has 15, like we talked about before, 15 starts in college, 15 starts since after high school. The list for quarterbacks who are 20 starts and below who enter the NFL, it's not a good list. I don't know if you guys seen this.
Like 0.
It's Mitchell Trubisky, 13 starts.
Ooh.
Dwayne Haskins, 14 starts. Mark Sanchez, 16 starts. Trey Lance, 17 starts. Mac Jones, 17 starts. Anthony Richardson, under 20 starts. Who as we talked about before on this pod, I'm still high on Anthony Richardson. I feel like he needs to find a better spot. Ryan Tannehill, 19 starts. Now, what these guys didn't have, what Ty Simpson has, is they just were thrown into the fire in a way. Ty Simpson, at least, what kind of gives me like, okay, maybe this could work, is that he's going to sit behind 2, maybe, this is a stretch, maybe 3 years under Matthew Stafford.
Yeah.
So that gives me like, okay, he's going to be under Matthew Stafford, he's going to be under Sean McVay. That's more of a, okay, by the time he's 25, 26 years old, he'll come in. Sure, that's old, but Bo Nix is old too, so, but still, right, I'm just I'm just kind of thinking.
Not Bo catching strays.
I know, right? But but by then you could think, okay, maybe Ty Simpson will obviously more mature, more wise. His frontal lobe will be developed by then. He's gonna come in and he's just gonna, not maybe like
his frontal lobe.
not maybe like not like take the NFL by storm, right? But like, show like, okay,
That's
like
wild.
like sitting behind Matthew Stafford, learning from Sean McVay, going through those 2 years, it really helped him. So that's the edge he has on the list, on the guys of the list that I just read off, right? Because all these guys were just thrown into the fire. So
I was gonna
I hear
segue.
that.
No, go for it.
I was gonna say I hear that, but then we said this last week is or the week before that, the only way you know how to play in the NFL is by playing in the NFL.
That's
And
true.
you sitting on the bench for 2-3 years, not feeling that, I don't see how you can't. Sean McVay would have to be a miracle worker to put someone on the field, and so unless he's getting some kind of play time, I just don't see how this benefits them.
So I'm glad you said that, and I'm glad I was going to segue into the Ty Simpson stuff, but you just went off, and that's fine. I'm for it. Let's go.
He's been itchy.
So no, because I was going to pose this question to both of you because I wrote about it, and I really proposed this question: should the Rams allow Ty Simpson to play in 2026?
Yeah.
Now that does not mean he's going to be the starter. What I mean is, will the Rams do something a little bit squirrely and allow Ty Simpson to jump in offensive packages to give him some valuable reps in game time when it matters? And also, if they're blowing anybody out, of course he's going to play, right? He's going to jump in. But more so than that, we talked about in our articles multiple times over, buddy. We talked about the fact that the Rams were 1 or 2 players away, or 1 or 2 plays away from going to the Super Bowl, right? Yeah. So what if instead of them having to go get a wide receiver, which of course they need, but maybe they have what they need, instead they start developing some offensive packages to throw defenses off that include Ty Simpson, that give him those valuable reps? Because if he's going to sit for 2 or 3 seasons, that is a waste of a first round pick. Like straight up a waste of it. But my point and my question is, what if this is what they were planning all along, in the sense of like, okay, so you know Matthew Stafford has been dealing with injuries. You know that he's been up and down about retirement. What if you can extend his life in the NFL by creating some offensive looks that include Ty Simpson and go in there? And it could be very similar to Derek Carr and Taysom Hill with the Saints. It could be very similar to Lamar Jackson and RG3 with the Ravens, right? Something similar to that, where you're throwing in a different quarterback and defenses are like, oh, we didn't watch tape on this. Obviously, you're not going to be able to do it a lot because people are going to start to catch on. But what if you started doing that? You started throwing those curveballs, throwing those weird offensive looks, including Ty Simpson, because why the hell not? He has a 1.1% interception, 1.1% interception percentage in college, and he's right there with Dak Prescott. He's right there with multiple really good quarterbacks with that percentage, in the sense that he can protect the ball. So you know that he can, regardless of his 1 year starting, he does not make mistakes. So you have that insurance there of him not making mistakes. Why not throw him in? At least for like I said, some looks, some offensive packages. Maybe you're like marching downfield and you're in the end zone and he comes out. You're in the red zone. He comes out for the first play. Then you bring back Matthew Stafford.
Sure.
Yep. For me, that's the only way any of this makes sense. You can't have him just sitting there watching Matthew Stafford. That's not how you learn. That's not how you get better. That's not how you know what it feels like to have your body hit by an NFL. That's not the same as being hit by someone in college, a guy who's not going into the league and is going off to do something else. For me, that makes the most sense. The only thing I say to that is then Matthew Stafford has to be a really gracious guy to be like, I just want MVP. I'm feeling like I could do a second. I'm feeling like I'm going to the Super Bowl this year. Why is this? Because this is what happened with Joe Flacco and Lamar Jackson. Was Joe was like, that was my team. Those were my guys. That's not what I thought was happening when they drafted Lamar. That's not what they communicated to me. Like, I thought I was going to be the guy until I wasn't. And then Lamar was going to go. And Joe Flacco's still around the league. Obviously, Joe was much younger than Matthew Stafford is now. But that's how how do you balance those egos? Yeah. And if McVay really believed that was going to happen, why did he look so pissed off on draft night?
So I'll say this real quick, just to jump in on that. Matthew Stafford is a team first guy. Matthew Stafford is 100%. A competitor. And I don't think Matthew Stafford would really like take umbrage with that fact. I think he'd be like, cool, this is my team, but absolutely let's throw this guy in and let's throw in and see what he can do. We'll get into the upset feelings, but I wanted to jump in and say
no,
that.
I agree with you. I'm like, if there's a quarterback in the league that is going to feel that way, it's Matthew Stafford, because he has always been that way. But I do just think have we communicated that? Have we made that really clear? Is that something that he's actually already in on?
Is this the plan that we've already detailed for him? Does he know that, hey, look, we're drafting this kid, we're going to get him in there offensively here and there, but he's not taking your job. You're the guy, you're MVP, blah, 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 which they should. Because my feelings, again, I'm going off topic here a little bit, but my feelings are, if they didn't do that, this is why that extension is taking longer than it should.
Yep.
Sure.
Feel that.
Yeah. No, that completely makes sense. That's what they need to do, right? You don't draft a guy number 13 overall to have him sit 2 or 3 years, right? You just don't.
No.
Now, I could definitely see, James, where it's a 4th and 3 inside the 3-yard line in the red zone, right? You maybe use a quarterback draw, you use something like that, right? Something like that to include Ty Simpson. He's certainly, without a doubt, I know this for a fact, he's going to possibly even start or finish games in the preseason.
Oh yeah.
That's given. That's for sure. So he's gonna have those hits. He's gonna have those whatever the case may be. Now it's not gonna be against starting level type of talent, but it's gonna be against NFL players or guys trying to fight for their life in the league, right? In terms of the regular season, he just needs those types of reps just to be good. Now, like you guys hit the nail right on the head. If there's a guy who the guy who with the least amount of ego quarterback wise is Matthew Stafford. So I want to say that those conversations have taken place, that conversation was taking place even before Thursday, before they drafted him, because now looking back, seeing what we've read, seeing what radio talk shows have talked about, they were taking Ty Simpson back in March, back in February, right? So Makai Lemon, offensive line, that was all a smokescreen, So they knew Ty Simpson was going to be their guy. Now it was just kind of ironing out the details, how he's going to fit, not this year, but also for years to come. I think the Rams are smarter than that. They just Les Snead is friends with his dad, so we're just going to get him. That definitely played a part of it for sure. But just knowing how they kind of built themselves to be the Rams organization, this is a very methodical selection. This is very planned out. So I want to say those conversations have taken place, but at the same time, the fact that Stafford hasn't gotten an extension too, that's kind of where it's maybe there's something that Stafford found out after the fact that didn't sit well with him, right? Because it is weird, but last year was a little different, right? He was actually shopping around the Giants and the Raiders, right? That was more of he's a free agent without being a free agent. So that was kind of weird. Now it's just okay, that's not the case. Why is this taking long?
Yeah.
So that's you guys could be right. There could be a lot of factors to it.
So to the Rams' benefit, I'll say this. There's been a lot of uncertainty with Matthew Stafford, and that's why they felt that they probably needed to go and get Ty Simpson and figure out their quarterback of the future situation. Because like you just brought up, buddy, he's been on a year-to-year contract for multiple seasons at this point because they don't know if he's going to play past 2026. So naturally, as an organization, if you don't go and get a Ty Simpson and he retires after 2026, what the hell do? You got nobody there. You got zero. You got Stetson Bennett, and then you got the aging Joe Flacco's of the league and everybody else. They'll
probably have to trade up in the draft, right? And
they don't have any draft capital to do that with at all. So you're to their benefit. I understand that aspect of it, and especially injury wise, you never know what's going to happen. Matthew Stafford had a back issue that he didn't even play through whole of training camp and preseason, and then he was good, but you don't know exactly what's going to happen. So they have to prepare for all of that to occur. But my issue, and I think where this all unravels for me is the Sean McVay face. This is where it starts to unravel. We know he was pissed off. You cannot
get the tinfoil hat out.
You cannot. There's no effing way that guy was not mad about what happened. He wasn't mad about the pick. He was mad about it for Matthew Stafford.
Sure.
And I understand. We all understand why. We understand it's because Matthew Stafford is the guy, and for him to see his replacement get taken in the first round, exactly like how we're talking about, that guy's going to come in and replace you sooner rather than later. So that is the feeling. That's what happened to Joe Flacco. That's what happened to Aaron Rodgers. That's what happened to Brett Favre. And same thing. Aaron Rodgers came in, Jordan Love came in. So we've seen this
Ben
time and time
Roethlisberger in Pittsburgh too.
Exactly. We've seen this time and time again occur, and we know how it works. It's the NFL. It's a brutal place. Players are just, they're replaced and replaced and replaced and replaced.
Kick to the curb, man.
Yeah, exactly. So, but my point or my issue with how this is all played out is, and I wrote a long op-ed about this, is the fact that Sean McVay has to keep explaining himself. One, he looked pissed off, and we know why he was pissed off. We can assume why he was pissed off. Not know, because we don't know. But come on. Like, you're upset for your quarterback because your quarterback is going to have certain feelings about his replacement being drafted. And whether or not they told him, how soon they told him, I don't think they really did the job that they were supposed to do all the way through. Otherwise, we would have heard from Matthew Stafford, who hasn't said a damn thing. Anyway, moving right along, then he goes and tries to retcon the whole thing by doing this awkward Buddy shoulder touch, which made it way worse. I was like, what are you doing? What is this? Like, he's like, everybody knows he's my buddy. Like, you don't have to say that. You just have to come out and say, this is our draft pick. It is what it is.
You don't even know.
Literally all you have to say, and everybody would have been like, all right, cool. But he didn't do that. He kept going, oh, we're buddies. It's okay. We're lockstep. Like, why are you saying that? Like, I know you have to address the situation. I know you have to address the fact that you look mad, but it just stinks of an odd, like, explanation that you keep having. And then he goes on radio show after radio show after radio show talking about Ty Simpson and reassuring everybody, I like Ty Simpson. It's like, bro, you don't have to do that. So case in point, he went on Mad Dog Radio, and again, he had to over-explain himself. He said, I'm looking at it as 5 skilled, 5 eligibles that we have every opportunity, whatever personal grouping we're in. And Mekhi was a big part of the conversation and discussion, but ultimately with the opportunity to be able to acquire a guy that we do think projects as a possible starter down the line, weighed in our thought process, and what was landed on was Ty. Again, this I don't buy it. I am not buying it.
It's the over-explaining when you've lied about something, and you're like,
Exactly.
and then this happened, and I promise it happened like this.
And obviously, again, it's because he looks so mad. And the fact that he said, oh, I was mad about other shit. Bro, come on. It was draft day. It literally happened, and you're upset. And we could see, and you're being very mean to reporters unintentionally, but we know what just occurred. And the fact that he kept having to say, this is Matthew Stafford's team, as if everybody doesn't already know.
We don't know that. Yeah.
And so obviously, is he saying that for the benefit of the media? Absolutely not. He is saying that for the benefit of Matthew Stafford. So what did they tell Matthew Stafford? What didn't they tell Matthew Stafford? Why is this extension taking so long? That part I'm putting my tinfoil hat on for. They could just be hammering out the details of it. But in my opinion, all of this over explanation, all of this like, oh, Sean, Les Snead's my buddy. Like, oh, we're lockstep. We're one and the same. Like, don't. That all just doesn't. I don't like it. I don't
James,
like it.
Yeah.
I've never heard the word lockstep more than I had this past week.
I never heard it.
How many
lockstep.
times? How many times has Sean McVay said it?
We're lockstep. We're lockstep.
That's what I'm talking about. Like,
they interviewed him Saturday during day 3 of the draft, and he said it like 3 times. I'm like, if you're lockstep with someone, you don't have to keep on repeating that you're lockstep with someone.
100%.
Sure. Hey, look. Hey, this could be right. Who knows? But like, it's very odd. It's very un-Sean McVay like.
Yes, and yeah, this is my point. Like you made a good point, buddy. You were like saying like they're very methodical. Everybody knows who the Rams are. Everybody knows how they draft. Everybody knows that like they're a great organization for a reason. But all this like, oh, we're cool, lockstep, like that to me blew the whole thing open, and now I don't believe them for a second because I'm like, okay, like I don't know what's going on now, and I don't know what you said to Matthew Stafford you didn't say because like there's so many different variables now that are coming into play. And I will say this: Sean McVay also did say like he balked at the idea that Mekhi Lemon would have pushed them into the Super Bowl, and I totally get that, and I believe it, and I am with him 100%. That is the only thing he should have said. Like, look, if we went and got Mekhi Lemon, you really think Mekhi Lemon's going to be the one guy that's going to push into the Super Bowl?
Yeah.
Absolutely not, because nobody knows what Mekhi Lemon could be in the NFL. He may take a year or two to get going, truly. And again, they have all those other receivers already, so we don't know. We don't know the space they have for him, or wouldn't have had for him, or whatever. You know, that goes for every draft pick, no matter what. But the simple fact that he's constantly over-explaining himself about Ty Simpson, he likes Ty Simpson, he's for Ty Simpson. That's what bothers me, and that's what's like been my thing that I can't get out of my head. Where I'm like, I don't know what the hell you guys are doing, but stop talking about it. Just be like, yeah, we took Ty Simpson because we took him
because we like him.
Yeah. No, I completely
And
agree with
rat.
all of this.
Sorry.
It's just so.
Love it. I love it.
No, you said it needs to be said. I think it's the exact thing, isn't it? It's just like the energy is just different. Like Sean McVay always has the same energy. Comes out is really animated character, really positive, and then just like seeing him like staring at the table, like messing around with it, like he's not the same as he was. And so I wonder if this harks all the way back to the NFL honors night when we were talking about it in the podcast the next day. Was like no one knew Matt, and we were like, did Matthew Stafford know that he was coming back? Did Sean McVay know when he said it? Did Les Snead know? And he's like, okay, well, you said that now, so that has to be true. But what does that look like for the future? We're already thinking about Ty Simpson. We don't.
Yeah.
There's all these factors that kind of fold into it that, like, that's maybe why they've been so quiet for the last few months, because they're like, we're really just trying to piece together this quarterback situation because actually this wasn't our plan. We didn't know that he was going to come back, at least that boldly. It wasn't going to be an immediate thing where they had to thought about like he was probably going to play through 2026. I think everyone assumed that, but like now it's kind of looking at like he might be going on to 2027, 2028. We don't know. So I think it's really just a mess in-house, and they're not doing a very good job for the first time of covering up what's going on. It's like the cracks are starting to show, and I think it's because like they really are just like this close. We've said it over and over again. They just this close, just, and it isn't one player. It's not one whatever. It's how much can you topple the Seahawks off of the top? Really, is my personal opinion is them versus the Seahawks in the NFC right now. So it is hard when you're in that kind of state where there's not really much you can do. It just seems like this whole thing is kind of occupying a lot of brain space for them right now. And maybe that has trickled down to the other picks because they were too busy trying to figure out quarterback situation.
Who knows? Yeah, look, Les Snead is right. If you're relying on a first round pick to take you over the top, you're probably not close, right? Yeah. We know the Rams are close, and we know for a fact that a offensive lineman or wide receiver would have helped you at least get closer to that. Not take you over the top, get closer to that. We know a lot of things need to go right in the NFL, in sports, right? To achieve the ultimate goal in winning a championship. We know that. But I know for a fact, Ty Simpson is not going to help you this year. And he probably is not going to help you next year, whether he's still sitting behind Matthew Stafford or whether he's starting in the NFL. We know that for a fact. So we still got to wait. We still got to see this develop, right? That's also probably another kind of frustrating part, a confusing part, where it's like, okay, you thought you were going to get a guy who was going to come in, not maybe make an immediate impact, but make some sort of impact, right? Like, I know for a fact Mekhi Lemon would have came in and done something. Ty Simpson is going to be sitting on the bench wearing the Bose headphones. That's it. And if he starts, if he comes in and becomes the starter because something happened to Matthew Stafford injury-wise, that the Rams have, I'm telling you this right now, the Rams have zero chance to win the Super Bowl. Zero chance to win the Super Bowl. Something happens to Matthew Stafford, the Rams championship window for 2026 closes. I know that for a fact. There is no chance. There is no chance.
I mean, at that point, they have to go and get a veteran. They can't. See, but then that points to the fact that you're putting all your eggs in the Ty Simpson basket, so to speak, and then you would still have to go and get somebody because, But I'll say this, but we don't know that he couldn't become Brock Purdy either.
Sure. I mean, I saw that was one of his comps was Brock Purdy. I see the kind of athleticism in terms of like kind of like improvising in a way. Like the comp to Brock Purdy. If he could be a Brock Purdy, I mean, hey, that'll be great, right? I mean, Brock Purdy's Pro Bowler. He's established himself as arguably a top 10 quarterback. So, that's that could definitely be that would definitely be a win for the Rams. But right now I just don't know. I just don't see the star potential from Ty Simpson, which what makes it really confusing as to why they chose him 13. But like I said before, Snead and McVay and the Rams see something in him. I don't know what it is right now, and honestly, I don't see it for the future. The best case scenario, I feel like he'll be a Jared Goff like 2.0, and I wrote that in one of my articles. Like best case scenario, he'll be Jared Goff 2.0. If he could be Jared Goff 2.0, that'll be great. But we all saw what happened. Sean McVay literally gave up on him when he was 26 years old because he felt like he needed to get over the top, and clearly they did. And Matthew Stafford came in, and the rest is history, right?
Yeah. Yeah, no, definitely. I have one more point to make. I know I went on a rant there because I just needed to get all that out because I was like, dude, what the hell
No.
is so actually, I think this pick also kind of I think the tinfoil hat back on here. I think also potentially this pick is also the reason why Matthew Stafford hasn't gotten his extension, has now forced Matthew Stafford to potentially go into a multi-year deal when he maybe wasn't planning to do so. For the simple fact that he has to now protect his investment and protect his spot as a starting quarterback. So maybe it's a situation now where he was already kind of planning on playing past 2026, but now he's like, oh, okay, so you're gonna draft my replacement? Well, I want guarantees. So what if now he's gonna demand a sort of 2 to 3 year deal, or at least a 2 or 3 year deal, 2 years, and then the third is an opt out year.
Sure.
Because maybe he's like, okay, I'm done. That being said, you give me the guaranteed money, we're all good. I've just been thinking about that too. Maybe that's the case. Maybe that's why Matthew Stafford hasn't signed an extension because now they have to renegotiate and hammer out some more finer details because again, you're looking at your replacement being brought in here and now you're like, okay, I have to protect myself being the starting quarterback because in reality, I'll say this now. I 100% do not believe that he's not going to play past 2026. I think I mean, he will play past 2026. He will. I think he will because I think he's going to play until his body tells him not to play anymore.
Yep.
And I firmly believe he's going to be similar to Aaron Rodgers where he might play into his 40s. That's how I feel. I think he's still at 38. You got an MVP. He's only gotten better as the years have gone on. Why the hell would you walk away? But again, injuries, family. I totally get it. That's his decision. I'm just saying, like right now, the core of the Rams roster is so good that you have 2 to 3 years where you're going to be competing for the Super Bowl, in my opinion. And obviously, they got Trost, they got Claire to help that. They're still going to need some more help wide receiver wise, but I still think that he's going to want to jump in there and try to win as many Super Bowls as he can before he really calls it a career. So that being said, with Ty Simpson coming in, being his replacement, all right, you brought him in, but he's going to guaranteed sit behind me for 2 years at least. That's what I would demand. And so that way, and especially because like, there's no way Sean McVay wouldn't allow that to happen because that's his guy. And obviously he just got the MVP award. It's Matthew Stafford for crying out loud. You're not going to let a rookie go in there and replace him without knowing if he's even going to be able to live up to the hype. And you won't know that through training camp and preseason and then him getting valuable reps. But regardless, like you just said, buddy, he's not going to be playing in 2026. And there's a good chance he won't even play in 2027. So that being said, I think Matthew Stafford is waiting to hammer out some details, get a multi-year deal in there, and then everyone's going to move on.
Yeah. And that's not ego. That's insurance for your future.
Yeah.
He's seen how it goes for guys around his age in the league. And just because he is good, not to go back to Joe Flacco, but Joe Flacco won a Super Bowl MVP a few years before his replacement came in. Okay, a few years, like four, 5. But still, it happened. And Aaron Rodgers, now no one really thinks twice about Aaron Rodgers as a threat. So he knows how quickly things change, how quickly the narrative change, how quickly the league and the game changes. I think it's completely fair for him to do something like that and to be weighing it out and being like, this changes the whole scenario. And it just goes back to whether he was already in on it, was that conversations that they were already having. But I fully support him taking his time with it because, you do have to think about what does the future look like. Because, of course, he's what becomes something really miraculous happens. Ty Simpson comes on and wows the crowd and they're like, right, we're done with you, Matthew Stafford. Another team's just around the corner waiting for him if he wants to keep going. 100%.
Yeah. Excuse me. Yeah, I mean, like, Lewis already brought up a good point, right? Like, yesterday on Get Up, he was like, the best time to draft your quarterback is when you don't need a franchise quarterback, which is right. But, yeah, like I said before, I personally don't see it with Ty Simpson. I don't, but, the Rams clearly do. It could easily go one or two ways, right? It could be the Aaron Rodgers, Jordan Love type of thing, or it could be the Tom Brady, Jimmy Garoppolo type of thing, right? Where obviously, like Matthew Stafford doesn't have the ego of Tom Brady, but like Tom Brady kind of drove out, Jimmy Garoppolo kind of forced, Patriots management to be like, hey, like get rid of this dude. I still have a number of years left, and they did, and we all see how that panned out, right? I don't see that necessarily take place because, like I said, Matthew Stafford doesn't have that type of ego. But in terms of like, okay, well, Stafford could play up until he's 41, and Ty Simpson's already 26 or 27 years old. Like is he gonna play? Like, are we still gonna hang on to him? And then that just goes into another reason why this using the pick on him, 13 especially. Like, is a rookie contract gonna be done by then? Right, like, and like, what do you literally, that's when you have literally just wasted a first round pick, on the guy that you thought was going to be it. But hey, we could be sitting here in November and something happened to Stafford. Ty Simpson comes in and he's doing pretty decent, right? And be like, okay, well, maybe, right? So like, there's a lot of different ways this could go. Yeah, there's just a lot. We unpacked a lot, and I know we did, but there's just a lot. Like, we could go deep into this rabbit hole, right? Because it's just a lot of things that happen, and that a lot of damage control that took place, and it's just like, it's very un-Rams like, and it's just like, what the heck's gonna happen, right? Like, but at the same time, if this is like their biggest kind of like drama or whatever going into it, I guess most teams will take it. Other teams are just like, man, who's gonna catch the ball for us? Who's gonna block the quarterback? Who's our safety? Who's our pass rush? Things like that. But yeah, this is a lot.
Yeah, for me, it's the hang up. I just remain on number 13 because I don't see why he wouldn't have still been there at 61 personally. But
maybe not. I still firmly believe they could have traded into the low 20s, traded down into the low 20s, and picked up like probably a third and fourth rounder to be used then, because then you could have got another wide receiver. Then you could have got another offensive tackle. You could have got another piece, but you didn't do that. That's my big issue with it, is you didn't trade down, still get him.
You still could have got him.
You still could have got him. 100%. I believe you still could have got him. But it is what it is. I know we went way over time talking about this, but everyone's talking about it, so we had to talk about it too. Hopefully the smoke will clear. We're going to see a Matthew Stafford extension in the coming weeks, and I'm sure it's going to get done this month, and I'm sure it's going to be a multi-year deal. I don't believe that he's not going to be planning to play past 2026. We'll see. We will be back next week. I believe at least me and Billy will be back. So I think, Buddy, you're going to be out. I won't say why. You can say why if you want to. That's all good. We'll move along. We'll move on. But thank you guys so much. It's been Roundtable Rams, episode number 18. Thank you for joining us once again, and we will be back.